This is how I've been able to stay lean while traveling. So, no tracking calories, no weighing anything, and having basically a different place that I'm eating at almost every single day. I've gone all the way from Brazil, flying to the US, went on an all you can eat cruise for a week, then flew to Thailand, and then a week later flew to Vietnam, and that's where I'm at right now. And the reason I share all this stuff is because I have not had pretty much any of the ideal conditions, barely even slept half the time, trained only a handful of times each week, and yet I've been able to maintain a very lean physique, maintain my muscle. And so if you're on the go, whether you're traveling or you just have a busy life, you can still make good progress and get in good shape. And so that's the reason why I'm making this video, because I think everyone has this idea that you have to be perfect. You have to have perfect sleep and perfect training and weigh everything and all that. And you just don't. This is what I've had to do lately in order to make this happen. So basically the three levers that we're going to pull on are meal timing, meal frequency, and then of course meal choices, all right? Okay, so for meal timing, this is actually really simple. Step one here is just skip breakfast. We're talking intermittent fasting, essentially. Fasting has a lot of benefits that I'm sure you're already aware of, but the main goal here is just to lower down the window of time and how much time we have to eat, okay? So shortening down the amount of time we have to eat so that way you eat less calories overall, therefore keeping you leaner without having to worry as much or think as much about food. As you already know, if you're watching this, calorie deficit is the only way to lose weight, the only way. And so therefore, we're going to make it easier to be in a caloric deficit by fasting in the morning. Now, personally, I fast in the mornings no matter whether I'm traveling or whether I'm not traveling. I always fast in the mornings. It makes me more productive. I feel better. And I also train fasted as well. You do not have to do this. This is just what I do, okay? Next is meal frequency. And so this is kind of a hack. I only eat 2 big meals per day, specifically while I'm traveling here. Why do I do this? Okay, well, 2 reasons. First off, it's just easier. There's just a lot going on when I'm traveling. It's hard to eat 3, 4, 5 times a day. But the real reason is actually to use my own stomach size, my appetite, to limit the amount of food that I'm actually able to eat. So obviously the meal is focused around protein. And so I'll eat all the protein first. And so I'll try to eat from 75 to 85 grams of protein to hit my goal of around 150 to 170 grams. I'll eat as much protein as I can, the beginning of the meal. That's the first thing I eat. And then after that, I just fill in whatever else I can stomach, basically with carbs, vegetables, all that other stuff. And so the point is, my stomach essentially just auto-regulates how much food I can actually eat and how much carbs I can actually eat, which stops me from overeating too much. Make sure that I hit my protein goals. And of course, again, just like my appetite is the limiting factor. And so the reason I think this is powerful is because if you're eating 70 grams of protein at one time, it's extremely hard to eat a lot more other food. If you have like a massive appetite, then maybe this won't work for you. But for me, this works really well. Obviously, if you can't eat enough protein in only 2 meals, then you can have a snack. Like there's so many options out there, whether it just be like a protein shake or something like that. There's so many different options that you can have, but this is what I'm doing, and this is how I eat out every single meal, and again, hit my protein and not overeat. So this is what I've been doing, and it's been working really well. And there's something about having just big meals that's really satisfying rather than just trying to have all these little small snacks and stuff throughout the day. Also, because I'm fasting in the morning, by the time I get to eat, which is somewhere between 12 to maybe 2 or even 3 p.m., I'm really hungry and I'm excited to eat, which makes it easier to eat the big meals. And then the same goes for the dinner time. As long as I eat a few hours before I go to sleep, so that way I'm not stuffed when I go to sleep, then I'm good. So it's just really easy to follow. So next is just the meal choices. Now, I already mentioned, picking a big protein serving, like for instance, like might go get a steak. Now, the thing that I wanted to mention here is the meal choices, and meaning like more so the restaurant choices, like where you choose to actually eat. That pretty much dictates everything. If you pick a fast food place, it doesn't matter how healthy you try to be. Like you can get the grilled chicken sandwich and this and that, but you're like having to go out of your way. Whereas if you just go to a nicer restaurant, and like the bar that I set is like Chipotle, like anything below Chipotle, I just don't touch. I don't mess with fast food. If you have to, obviously, it's fine. But in most situations, you have a choice. And so Chipotle is kind of the bottom that I set, and I try to go above that as much as possible. Because when you go to a restaurant, even just a slightly nicer restaurant than like a Chipotle, you can get a big steak. And usually the sides that come with something like a steak is potatoes, like roasted potatoes and vegetables. Whereas if you get a burger, then the side is like fries. So you can kind of see that the choice of meal and the choice of restaurant kind of dictates the like level of quality and how healthy the meal actually is. And I've also noticed that more expensive restaurants tend to have smaller portion sizes too. Like you don't just get a giant plate of fries with it. You'll get, your big steak and then like a little bit of potatoes and a little bit of vegetables and some bread. Like it's just so much easier to get smaller, like more accurate portions when you go to nicer restaurants. Yes, this costs more money, but if you're like me and you're an entrepreneur and you're traveling, like that isn't a big deal. And for me, my health is top priority. That's more important than money. So I'm not really worried about spending money on food, especially when I'm traveling where I'm very limited. Normally, I'm grocery shopping, so I spend a lot less on food normally, but that's just how it is in this case. Depending on where you eat as well, you might need to order like an appetizer of like maybe some chicken or some other things, or a second meal, or just like an extra serving of protein in order to actually hit your protein goal. I found that just depending on where you go, I think that around 200 to 250 grams is a pretty normal weight for like steak or like chicken or something like that. And obviously you can look it up, but I think that typically I try to push over 300 grams of some kind of meat to get to my goal there. But yeah, so that's just personally what I've been doing, and it's been working really, really well. And in fact, I actually think I got leaner. I sent in some pictures to my coach yesterday, and he literally told me, he's like, I don't know, you kind of look fuller, which makes sense because I've probably been eating a little bit more than I was before because I was in a deficit for like 8 months. So actually, the diet break is probably good for me. This framework is what I've used to stay lean while traveling. And in fact, I've kind of used a modified version of this even when I am tracking, just because it's really easy to stick to eating only twice a day, hitting your big meals. It's just easier to do because personally, like the bodybuilding style of eating just never really worked for me because I hated eating 4 times a day. I was just like feeling like I was full all the time, lethargic, and just taking the time to, make a meal or like even warm up a meal and eat it. It just, I didn't really want to do that. So this has been working really well for me. Maybe give it a try if you're traveling or you're just busy and you want to just try something different because the way you've been doing things hasn't been working. Then give it a rip. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'll see you in the next video.